This is a quick demo on how to make face masks. And what you're going to do is you're going to take two different fabrics. I have a green mushroom and a polka dot, and the dimensions of them are 7.5 this way by 9 this way. And you're going to use two different fabrics, and the reason being is that when the person wears the mask, they will remember what side of the mask was against their face, so they don't accidentally turn it around and suck in all them bad germs. So what you do is once you have your fabrics cut, you're going to be mindful if you have a directional pattern. This is going to be my top, this is my bottom, and I'm going to face two sides together. Then I'm going to take an interfacing or a stabilizer that you can buy off Amazon. This is a medium weight. I cut them to the 7.5 by 9 as well, and that's just going to lay right on top. And then we're ready to start sewing. Okay, so once you have all your layers put together, you take it over to the sewing machine, and you're going to be mindful of where your top is. This is the top of my mask, this is the bottom of my mask. And you're going to run a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way across the top of all 3 layers. Then you're going to come down here and you're going to do the same thing, except you're going to leave about a 2-inch gap at the bottom. And we will explain this later as to why you're going to leave this gap. Okay, the next step is to take some floral wire, which we have right here, and we cut enough, about how many inches?
That's 3.5.
3.5 inches. Okay, and I did a zigzag stitch, leaving enough on each end so that we can turn them up once we have done our stitch. So to turn them up, you're simply going to take it and twist it up. And you can use little needle nose pliers to get it perfect. And the reason behind this is that you don't want this metal coming and poking a user in the face. That wouldn't feel too good. So this is the goal of this. Now, if you don't have access to floral wire, what you can also use is these little vinyl wrapped twisty ties that you have in most people's junk drawers. Almost everything we get as a consumer are these. I wrapped 2 of them together and got it nice and thick, because usually one is not thick enough. Now, another option, if you don't have these, if you have coated paper clips, you can straighten out a paper clip that's got the same vinyl wiring and do the same thing. The bottom line is you're going to do a zigzag stitch, and you're going to secure each end with a back stitch and leave enough on each end to turn them up. You're not going to turn them down, you're going to turn them up. Okay, so now you have your floral tape metal across the top of your mask. The next step is your strings, and you have a couple options for your strings. You could use actual fabric and make ties, or you can use bias tape, which we have used right here. And bias tape, what that is it's fabric that has been folded, pre-folded for you, so it's ready. And what you would do is sew a seam down here all the way across. Now, the lengths of your strings are going to be 18 inches long, and you're going to need 4 of them. So I took white bias tape and I folded it in half and ran a seam down it, as you can see here. And these are all 18 inches in length. These ones that we did out of actual fabric are a little bit wider, and we did 4 of them, and they're 18 inches long as well. So what we're going to do when we put these strings on is you're going to have your 2 right sides that are together, and you're going to run your cord through. You're going to bring it all the way up to the top. And you're going to snug it right up against that seam. So when you sew it, you're going to sew straight across here. And I'm going to run another one on the bottom. we've got one there. And we've got one there, and you can see them barely peeking out. And you want them as close to the seam as possible before you start sewing. And we're just going to run another seam allowance straight down here. And we're going to do it on both sides.
And back tack over this a couple times.
Yeah, make sure that you back tack on against these strings a couple of times so that they're good and stable. So if people are tugging on them, they're not going to rip them out. Okay, so we have done our first set of strings. As you can see, I ran over the seam a couple times. So I've got one here and we've got one here, and the ends are hanging out here. So what we want to do next to do the other side is we're going to come in here, we're going to open this up like a tube, and we're going to stuff these strings in. Then we're going to take our other two strings and we're going to put them in there as well, like a purse, shoving stuff in your purse. And you put one there. You're going to drop this one in as well. And kind of shove them down in there, and then you're going to have two hanging out like this. And now we're going to close this seam. Okay, so we have now enclosed our entire face mask. Our strings are inside the face mask. Once you do your two sides, it's good to trim them off, get the excess. So I'm just going to simply come up here and trim this off, and I'm going to do the other side as well. Okay, once you have your sides trimmed off, the next step is you're going to put this right side. You're going to take it where your hole was here, and you're going to start bringing your fabric all the way through. Nice part about this is once you have your little strings, it's easier to do. Okay, so here we have it turned right side out, and you see I've got my strings all pulled here. This is the little opening that we brought it through at, and we're going to tuck our corners in here, or our seams, and we're going to just give this a quick little iron. Because the goal will be now we're going to top stitch once this is all pleated. Now I've got my wire up here. You notice I got my directional pattern going the right way. Once this is nice and crisp, we're going to start working on our pleats. Okay, so for pleats, you want to do between 3 and 4 pleats. Start at the top and work your way down. The first pleat can be a little bit bigger than the rest, but the goal is that your pleats have to be facing down like this, not up like this, because germs can get in here and that's not helping you, okay? So make sure that your pleat is down. So this is my first pleat. Now I'm going to work on my second pleat. And I think I'm just going to do 3 pleats in this one. And you want to kind of try to make them as even as possible. So that's going to be pleat number 2. And then my last pleat is just going to be a little one right here. Now you might be thinking, wow, this looks really small. But what happens is once this is all sewn out and you put the mask on, it stretches out like an accordion. So once I get this nice and ironed really well, then we're going to do a top stitch all the way around the entire piece. And these pleats are going to be stitched in on each side. So stay tuned, we'll show you what this looks like all stitched out. I'm going to start top stitching the mask. I start at the bottom, and we're just going to do a very I try to get as far to the edge as I possibly can for a nice clean seam. Now if your sewing machine allows you to do needle down, I suggest you do a needle down, because when you get here to the corner, you're going to lift and turn. Now, getting through all this fabric can be quite tough. So what I kind of do is I kind of take and I'm going to kind of tug as I go, kind of forcing the issue. Once it gets going, usually it's fine. Now I'm going to take this down to the corner. Stop. Lift my presser foot and pivot. Foot down. Now remember, this is my top and I've got this wire here. So when you're sewing this top edge, you do want to keep it as close to the edge as possible. And this can be a little tricky to get through this area, so I kind of have to do a little tug. And there's no shame in going slow. Making sure you get it right on the edge, especially where that wire is, because you don't want to break a needle. Once you're past your needle, then or past the wire, then you can go faster. Take it down to the end. Now I'm going to do one last pivot. Make sure my strings are aside. And it's going to take a little bit to get through this junk. Now this is getting through some tough stuff, so I'm going to have to pull it. Keeping my pleats in place. Now always remember to do a back stitch to lock your stitch. Voila. Finished project. Okay, this is what we got here. We've got a wire that bends around the nose, and this accordion goes over the mask of your face, and then these tie behind your head.
You're going to want to tie those in a knot at the ends, though,
Oh yeah.
if it's unfinished.
So if you're using bias tape, you're going to want to knot your ends so that it doesn't fray. And that's as simple as just doing a little knot. And there you have it. You have your finished mask. It's two-sided, so the wearer knows what side was against their mouth. And you've got the wire to keep it around your nose. And this florist wire is really nice because it really holds it well. So there you go.